Rakis.
Ya saya kamu cuba baca ni. Cuba baca. Cuba saja. Apa ni? With I get of I wish to be to faham tak apa yang dia cakap? Tak faham maksud? Okey, saya tanya Rakis satu soalan. Rakis boleh tak kira 1 sampai 20 dalam bahasa Inggeris? Cuba.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Tak tahu dah. Lepas tu tak tahu dah.
My name is Jaya Lachmi. I old is 20 years old.
20 years old? What is 13?
13 years old. 13 years old.
Okay, Jaya, can you please read this for me?
Kecil ni apa?
When?
When I
Cuba.
When I
Hi. Wow, standing here in front of all of you feels really strange. Mainly because everyone is so well behaved. You're all looking at me with starry eyes. I don't have to drag you to sit down. I don't have to put a pen to your hand. And I don't have to write names of noisy kids on the board. Amazing. Hi, my name is Suet Li, and I'm an English teacher and a Teach For Malaysia fellow. I currently teach 13 to 16-year-olds in a rural school in Negeri Sembilan. It's in this small place called Simpang Durian in Jelebu, and this is a picture of me in the paddock field behind my school. So I grew up all my life in Subang Jaya, an incredibly urban area, and I went to the States after Form 5 to study economics. I came back a psychology major, and now I'm a teacher to 150 really rowdy but very lovable kids. To be completely honest, I have never considered to be a teacher before, ever. But 2 years ago, I found myself getting increasingly tired and frustrated of all the negativity surrounding the youth in our country. Every summer when I come back from my summer vacation, I would, more often than not, find myself stuck in the middle of a mamak somewhere, discussing the perils our nation is in. And it gets really tiring, believe it or not, to comfortably sit down and criticize the education system, to talk about the politics, to discuss the injustice that we see, while we sip our teh taris away. So when I found out about this program called Teach For Malaysia, that places fresh graduates and young professionals in high-need schools, I thought I'll try it out. Why talk about the problems when we don't even really know what the problems are? Yes, our education system needs an overhaul, but do we know exactly what needs to be changed? It's too exam-oriented, too low quality, too this, too that. And I'm helping by merely criticizing? No. I want to be part of the solution. I want to be on the ground to see the problems for myself. I have this big vision for my country, and I need to do more than just dream about it. But little did I know what challenges that lie ahead of me. You know, we all know of the facts that surround our education before. Only 3 out of 4 of our working adults are educated up to SPM level. And 3 out of 5 or head of poor households only have a primary education or less. But these facts did not mean anything to me. And it was only when I got to the classroom for the first time that I saw how real the problem is. A child in Form 1, not knowing all the alphabets or how they sound, much less what a word means. Similarly, a child in Form 5 facing the same situation a few days before he finishes school. These are children who have gone through at least 7 years of education, only to have progressed nowhere. Day in and day out, they fail every subject they take in school. And it's become such a norm for them that they have lost faith in themselves and in school. The sad part is, this is not just a problem that exists in rural schools like mine. 20 minutes from where we are right now, city schools have students with the exact same situation. I don't know about you, but this came as a really shocking news to me. Maybe it's because I've never been exposed to this glaring inequity in education before. You know, I've grown up all my life in this Klang Valley bubble of mine. In my world, everyone at that age could at least read or speak basic though limited English. So literacy is perhaps one of the biggest problems I see in school, and it's caused by several factors, one of it being motivation level. And this is a vicious cycle. Lack of motivation means they don't care to be better, and because they're so far behind that they just don't feel motivated anymore. There's also this large perceived unimportance in education, mainly because of their family background. So what if I can't speak English? I can still be a lorry driver, like my dad. So what if I can't read English? I can still farm and take care of my cows. People around them don't speak English anyway, so why bother? There are a lot of times that I really felt like giving up, because my kids are just so far behind. It's so hard to feel motivated when I see practically no changes in my kids. You know, kids who can't read today still can't read tomorrow, and maybe even after a few months. I go to school every day, armed with my mahjong paper and colorful flashcards and Peter and Jane and song lyrics and word games and grammar worksheets, but it's still not working. Some of my kids have really driven me insane. You know, I've cried in class, shamelessly, not once. I've begged them to learn, and I've sung so many times, and I'm tone deaf. These are times that I really felt like giving up. But when I actually stepped away from all this chaos, I see so many other kids who are silently crying for help. So I'm going to share a few stories with you. Stories of my kids, and some of them are pretty positive, and some of them are not. The first story I'm going to share with you is the story of Jaya. Jaya is the girl that you first saw in the video. She is 13 this year, and she cannot read and count, not just in English, but in any other language as well. Jaya is a constant reminder to me of how our schools and education system have failed so many children in our country. Students like Jaya often escape the attention of teachers because they're really quiet and invisible in class. When I think of where I see my kids when they grow up, I really shudder at the thought of Jaya's future. When I realized that I could not help all my kids, I decided to focus on people like Jaya, the silent minority who has fallen so far into the cracks, people who many teachers have given up on. So I asked her to come to my extra class, and I asked her to read Peter and Jane book 1A to me. And that's the first book, the very first book. And she could not even read the first word in the book, which was Peter. And it has never crossed my mind that a child at 13 would not be able to read at all. Watching those big pleading eyes staring back at me just broke my heart. But thankfully, Jaya is a very determined girl, and I started with alphabets with her, something so simple, but she learned wholeheartedly. When I gave her the Peter and Jane book to read at home, she actually copied every word of the book in her own exercise book, so she could read it over and over again before she sleeps at night. And this is a video I'd like to show you of Jaya a few months after we started our extra class. You can start.
Here is Peter and here is Jan. Peter is here and Jan Here is the dog. Here is Jen, and here is the dog.
Okay, very good.
Jen likes the dog. Peter likes and Peter likes the dog.
What is likes?
Suka.
Okay, I think you're doing a great job there. I want you to try to move on to book 2. Okay, so 1A and 1B is finished. Let's try to go to book 2A.
Was
We H-A-V-E. How is H? A-V-E? F. Have. Okay, we have fun.
Do you remember how old you were when you were reading at that level? Jaya gives me so much hope, and she's sending me a very strong message to never give up on them. It may have taken her 3 long months to be able to read at that level, and God knows how long it'll take for her to be able to read at her age-appropriate level. But I know, with her persistence, she will be able to read bigger books on her own later. Unfortunately, not every student is as determined as Jaya. And it's hard to admit this, but she's the only person that I've had success with that class of 27 kids. Rakis, the boy you first saw as well, along with so many other kids, are still struggling with basic literacy. I've been in school for a year now, but I've had many more failure stories than success stories. When I see some of my kids, it's clear that many have given up completely, and I don't blame them. How do you catch up when you're so many years behind? When all the teachers are so overwhelmed with everything to pay attention to you? Rakis goes to school every day without fail, but he goes back home without learning anything. Not because he doesn't want to or he hasn't tried, but because he just couldn't understand anything. Now, imagine an entire class with kids like Rakis and Jaya. Who do you help first? And where do you even start? So that's when I tell myself that my last 1 year in school and what I've done is barely scratching the surface of the problem. And this is where my community project would come in. So every Teach For Malaysia fellow in their 2nd year would have to run a community project after looking at all the problems surrounding their school and their community. And my project would try to tackle the problems of literacy in my school. So for years, educators have thought that the biggest predictor to a child's success in school is having parents who are highly educated. But a massive research has shown that it is not your family's socio-economic background, or your parents' education, or their occupation that determines your success in school and in career. It is, believe it or not, the number of books you have at home. So, following this, a project was recently conducted by a teacher in Atlanta where she gave 40 books each to each child who are really behind in terms of literacy level. And what she found was, not only did the kids' literacy level increase tremendously after giving the books, but their family has changed as well. You know, parents and younger siblings are now beginning to take interest in reading and have asked these kids to read to them at home. So what started with a project that has only impacted 60 children has a huge indirect impact, affecting more than 300 people in the community as well. Wouldn't that be awesome if I could do the same in my class too? And I realized that 90% of my kids do not own more than 5 books at home. Think about it. How many books do you have at home? These kids grew up in a family where books are not even valued at all. So in my project, I would be calling it Sponsor a Child to Read. Similar to the UNICEF Sponsor a Child program, individuals who are interested can sponsor my kids' books, and I will be sending progress report to the individuals. the novels in their syllabus right now are way beyond their reading abilities. So obviously these kids don't like to read because they couldn't understand anything at all. So I'm hoping that when I give them simple picture books to read, they would be able to be more interested in reading and would move on to read bigger books on their own. I'm a huge believer of not giving people fish to live, but teaching them how to fish for life. And I'm starting that with giving them really simple books first to get their confidence level up. The future seems really uncertain for all my kids, and I know that my 2 years with them will definitely not transform their lives. But I know I will do whatever I can to help change their life trajectories. I need them to know, my kids, like, even if they don't achieve the same academic excellence that I want them to achieve, I need them to know that there are so many options in life open to them. There are so many options in life open to them. My kids need to know that they can go anywhere they want with their own hard work and not be limited by where they or their families come from. So, people, I've stood here in front of you for the last 13 minutes and 54 seconds telling you all this. But truth is, there are still so many, thousands and thousands of kids in Malaysia who are still struggling like Rakis and Jaya. And we can stand here talking about it all day if you want. I'll be more than happy to. But something else needs to be done. I urge all of you, to go back today with what you have heard from my presentation, to go back up today and think about this problem, to talk about it with your family and friends. But most importantly, let's all do something. Let's all do something in our own capacity. And together, I think we can solve this. Thank you.